2, 1.
You're listening to Racing World, brought to you by Perspective Group. It's your motorsport podcast show in conjunction with Race Control magazine.
Well, here we are, December already, almost Christmas time, almost the end of the year. One big thing to wrap up today with Bob, who will join us shortly, and that's the Formula One World Championship. And boy, oh boy, I'm sure he's going to have plenty to say on that. Lots of other things happening around the world. First up, of course, Helio Castroneves unveiled the ticket, which the winner always does, for the 106th running of the Indy 500. We got to get vision of that, so check this out.
I've always said we need another four-time winner, and there's nobody more passionate than Helio Castroneves. And he won his fourth Indianapolis 500 this year in a shortened season for him. And nobody in the history of our 105 runnings of the Indianapolis 500 celebrates like Helio Castroneves.
Super excited to be here, and I can't thank enough all of you and all the fans again for an incredible year, incredible victory, and without you guys, I wouldn't be able to do what I love to do.
Nobody since 1992 has had a chance to win 5. 2022, you coming back?
Of course I'll come back. I wouldn't be here right now if I didn't think I have a chance to fight again for the number 5. And I'll tell you what right now, we are working very hard. So you better show up next year because something really special is going to happen. And I can't wait to be back in the race car again.
You guys with me? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's see it.
Woo! You're right, my mouth is not open. I love that. That is pretty good. Oh my goodness. All right, I know I can do that as well. I've been doing that all the time, and I'm not ashamed about it. You know, this is pretty fun. So thank you, Doug. Thank you, everyone. This is so special. And unveiling this ticket, no question, this is part of history, and I'm so honored to be part of Indianapolis 500 history. Thank you.
And then on the domestic front, big shout out to John McCullum and the team at Lucas Oil Western Springs Speedway. Man, oh man, you guys tried hard. You created the COVID Cup. Everything was there. The first ever Speedway event in New Zealand to be run behind closed doors. And of course with Speedway, the one thing that you can't have is the rain. And sure enough, 2 heats into Saturday night at Western Springs, down came the rain and it just kept on raining. But here's some highlights of what did actually happen.
Welcome to my bubble here at Western Springs Speedway.
Green flags fly for the first time here at Western Springs Speedway for the season. It's the 84, Ben Cometic getting off to a great start there. Grant Maskovich across the start-finish line. Michael Pickens jumps him into Midas turn number 1, sliding up the track. There we go, and that's that Candia automotive machine of Eric Smith running in the 3rd position. We can see some water starting to appear on the lens there. And
First time we get to turn a wheel for the 2021-22 series, and we've put on a special COVID Cup night tonight, and then someone chucks rain into the mix.
You can see on your screen or on your TV at the moment, the rip is going around. That opens the surface up. That will then absorb the water rather than letting it sit on the top. And then we'll just go back, once the weather clears, we'll just go back to a wheel pack situation, pack the top down, and we'll probably have a better track than what we started with.
Let him finish his chips. Because of social distancing, we can't share anything. I can't help him eat his chips. So, no, you just eat your chips, Jonathan, and I'll talk to myself.
Yeah, we've tried and tried. The boys have done everything they can to make it work. The rain's coming again. We thought we had about an hour's window to get this feature races run. The COVID's beaten us again.
And we'll catch up with things at Western Springs over the summer. Obviously, my production company's involved in it, so it gives us a really good insight into that. Other news that's just come to hand, we'll talk about the Formula One Junior Test. James Hinchcliffe announced this morning that he's stepping down from full-time IndyCar. I think that you'll see him at the 106 running of the 500 next year, almost certainly. He'll try for a one-off there. Capable of doing that. Been on pole, was on pole in 2016, so we'll see Hinchcliffe there. There's still a bit of shuffling going around. And we mentioned it a few weeks ago, and it's been confirmed confirmed by Racer magazine. So for once we got ahead of them, and the fact that Blair Julian taking up a senior management role now at Ganassi Racing and stepping down from being crew chief of the number 9 car. So the Wolfpack's now lost the head wolf, you might say. But Blair just got so much potential in front of him in that role, and we'll probably see him on the timing stands come May as well. So big things happening at Ganassi Racing. Big year for Dixon next year as well, I feel. They always like to use a term that Craig Baird once used, retribution, and I think that Dixon will be out for that next year to prove once and for all he is one of the greatest all-time IndyCar drivers. Anyway, we'll probably chat more about that. This could be the final show of the year because we're well into December now. But let's get down to Formula One and talk with Bob. Righto, well, as promised, here we are once again, Bob. We never quite got back together again. This may, of course, be the last show of the year, but, you know, we might do another one. You never know. Formula One, done and dusted. Not long till the season starts again now. I don't know where you start, actually. I really don't know where to start today.
Well, I mean, the first thing is done, but it ain't dusted. We're waiting for the pronouncement from the Mercedes team, Toto Wolff or whoever, whether they are going to continue their appeal process to higher courts. I hope they don't. The championship is done and dusted. I don't agree with a lot of people saying Max Verstappen was the best driver. I don't think he was. I think Lewis Hamilton was the best driver. But I think both of them deserved to win the championship or deserved to have the title world champion. I'm just really uncomfortable by the way it turned out in the end. I think that was unfair. I think it could have been made more fair by simply having an immediate red flag. Yeah. Everybody comes in, everybody gets in the positions they should be in. Everybody then has a race, all on the new tyres they want. It'll be Max and Lewis on the front row. We would have had a race to the end.
Yeah. We've said
it would not have disadvantaged other drivers either, like Carlos Sainz, who had no chance. He was stuck in the second batch of cars that were not allowed through to unlap themselves. He would have had a chance to maybe fight with Verstappen and Hamilton. Who knows? They would have gone off. He would have won. So I think we have had a. I don't like the way it ended, and there is no precedent for the way it ended. It was totally against all precedent the way it ended, and I just feel very uncomfortable for that it was done probably with the best will in the world by Michael Massey to do it that way, to actually have a finish. But he could have had a finish under a red flag, and he could have avoided a whole bunch of rubbish by doing that. But anyway, it's once again, you call it Monday morning quarterback, call it what you like. It's easy to make that decision. Me sitting here with that opinion, me sitting here with having no skin in that game. But he's the man under fire at that particular moment. Added to which, he was bloody under fire once again from the two stupid team principals lobbying him. I'm glad to see the FIA have now outlawed that as of this morning. They're writing a rule that there will be no lobbying from anybody onto the race directors. Well,
the race director, end of the day, the race director has a job to do. Whether you like it or not, he has a job to do. Just leave him alone and let him get on with his job. He's under enough pressure to keep the thing going at any given time. Just before I go on, looking back at that, I know we debated it quite some time ago before we even started this podcast show. There was an Indy 500 that got very close to a similar situation, and they chose to red flag and then did effectively about a 10-lap dash from memory. I think when you get that close to a finish, you do have to adopt that philosophy, because it was either going to finish under yellow or as we had a one-lap sprint, and neither of those are necessarily very fair. If it had finished under a yellow, then you can guarantee Horner and co would have been having a massive whinge and would have been robbed and everything. It was a very, very unfortunate situation. I think amazing effort by Lewis. That last quarter of the season, he just came back strong. Mercedes played some good cards, but Red Bull played some very good cards too, like using Perez to help draft Max round in qualifying. Very, very smart. I thought Sergio, played his part as the team number 2 far better than, and I've always been a slight soft fan of his, but far better than what Alex Albon ever could have. So Perez will be in the good books with Dr. Helmut Marko, that's for sure.
Yeah, probably so. I mean, the fact of the matter is that the winner of the championship is the driver with the most points.
Yep.
Max Verstappen, in that case, deserves it. I don't like the way, and I've never been shy of saying I don't like the way that Horner and Marco go about their business, with being seemingly they're always doing it against us, they're always doing that. Yeah. That even happened at the end of the race when Horner was trying to get the cars removed, the lap cars removed between Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton. He was on the radio then to Michael Massey, and Max Verstappen was saying, "Oh, typical, they're all against us," and all sorts of things. They have got a major chip on their shoulder, the whole team, that they need to get rid of. Stop, and a lot of Max's driving was questionable, to say the least. But I don't think any of Lewis Hamilton's driving was questionable, with the possible exception of Silverstone. So I think Lewis Hamilton was the best driver, but the fact is the best driver doesn't always win. No. And the best driver did not win in this case. Max Verstappen did. Therefore, he is the best driver. He's the world champion this year, and good on him. I wasn't rooting for either one in that race. No, either one. Decent race. I wanted to see a damn good race. That's all. And we had a good race at the beginning. We had a good race between Hamilton and Perez in the middle, and we had a hell of a race at the end. The rest of it, to be honest, was fairly ordinary, because Lewis Hamilton was driving away at will and stayed driving away at will. So was he screwed at the end? Yes, he was. But the alternative, I don't know. I'm not going to criticise it now. All those things.
The big thing too for Mercedes is obviously they walk away with an 8th constructors title, which is something that's kind of got lost in all of this, and we know how important that is to a manufacturer. That's money in the bank, well and truly. It's pit lane priority for next year, all sorts of things, and for Mercedes to be the #1 constructor at the end of the era of this type of car as well. You could call that mission accomplished, because 2022, all new cars, all new way of doing things. We'll see who comes out of the blocks firing on that. I got a thing here. I've been dying to do this for you, because you know how well I'm into stats, especially after all our years at Indianapolis and dealing with Americans and stats and traditions. So I got this actually from one F. Alonso the other day, and here it is. In 2005, when Fernando won his first world championship, sorry, I got to put my glasses on to read his email. He was 24 years old. And the person that came second that year was 36 years old. His name was Michael Schumacher.
Yeah.
2021, the winner of the world championship, Max Verstappen, and he was 24 years old. The person who came second in the championship, Lewis Hamilton, and he was 36 years old. There you go. There's a little stat for you.
Yeah, well,
I'm proud of it anyway.
What can I say? It's I've forgotten that Lewis Hamilton was 36. I thought he was younger than that, but anyway, that's what it says. That's what it says.
So, quite a little list anyway. A 24 and a 36, multiple years apart. But anyway, the championship's done and dusted. Ferrari, I think, did a good job at the end. They outclassed your mates at McLaren, but as we said, we think that the development had stopped at McLaren and was more towards 2022. Big turnaround now for Alfa. Obviously, both drivers gone, new drivers in next year. Be very interesting to see how that goes. A lot of weight on Valtteri Bottas to kind of turn that team around a little bit in many ways.
Yeah. There's all sorts of things that are got to go on with all sorts of teams. I mean, Danny Ricciardo really has to look at his driving, how he's driving, and step up, because he's not worthy of that seat when Lando Norris is doing what he's doing in the car. And you can only try and beat your teammate. And frankly, Ricciardo, on balance over the year, has not been near Lando Norris. No. And I accept the fact that the only race they won this year was run by Danny Ricciardo. So, obviously it works for him now and again. But it's consistency that brings you up in the championship, and that didn't happen.
You probably saw the reverse of that at Ferrari, where Sainz, who was also new to the team, just like Ricciardo was at McLaren, actually rose to the occasion across the championship year, and Leclerc kind of didn't. So it went the other way. And Carlos openly admitted, just as Ricardo was early in the year, these are new cars for us. We've got to adapt to them. And Carlos did a good job. And he outshone Charles Leclerc at Ferrari. But I think that's a strong pairing for the future.
Yes, he did. And I said at the beginning of the year, I think it's one of the strongest driver pairings that there are there. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. Just going back to the Massey thing now, if the race director can change the rules or adapt the rules or take a view on the rules as they are written, that effectively means he makes a decision, does that now mean that there's no rule book at all? It's just done on the opinion of the race director? Because that's something that's got to be sorted out by the FIA, and I think they're going to sort it out. Whatever, I mean, whatever happens next is we'll see whatever happens next. Please don't take it legally anyway. I mean, there's lots of other stuff. I could carry on about this subject for the next hour, but everybody in the world with a keyboard has had a say on it, and I'm kind of over it, to be honest.
Red Bull have already announced that if Mercedes appeal it, then they'll appeal the appeal, and it'll just drag on. So it's like, let it go, moving on, and that's the way it is. And as for Michael Massey, look, he's a great straight shooter guy. I knew him in V8 supercar days. I don't think it's time to start a witch hunt necessarily in his direction. A lot of these things are heat of the moment decisions, no different than, say, Toto throwing a headset or Christian doing whatever Christian does. They happen, but the intentions are all, I firmly believe, are all for good. And he is an unbiased guy as well. I don't think there's a bias towards any particular driver. There can't afford to be. No. He's a straight shooter when it comes to that.
If there was any bias to be laid at his door, the bias was wanting to make a finish by racing in a Netflix Hollywood fashion rather than going on normal precedent. If that race had been in the middle of the year and it had been at Imola and it didn't really matter, it's just another race, it wouldn't have ended like that. No. So therefore, by making it end like that, it was a manipulation of the circumstance, and simply by manipulating it leaves you open to a charge of manipulation. So anyway, as I say, I'm over it now completely. It's what will happen. I look forward to March, whatever it is next year when we start again, which ain't that far away, to be honest. No. But we'll start again with new cars, with new big wheels on, as we've seen this week testing, or yesterday testing in Qatar, where Liam Lawson did not have big wheels on his car, but he might as well have done, because he was second fastest, which I think is a really good outing from him. And it's amazing. I don't know if you've read what Pato O'Ward said about the Formula One car. He said there is nothing like it in the world. Nothing prepared him for that car. Nothing in IndyCar. Nothing anywhere prepared him for that car. So there's people say, what's the difference between IndyCar and Formula One? There's the difference.
Well, the interesting thing from Pato, and a comment that I read today, which came out of the Arrow IndyCar team as opposed to the McLaren Formula One team, but same organisation, was Pato was saying that he was totally wrecked after the test.
He's dead. He's neck.
To drivers that have come over from Formula One to IndyCar, including Grosjean, Hulkenberg, various others, even Callum Ilott, they've said, God, these things are hard to drive. They're physical. I'm absolutely, buggered. But here you've got Pato O'Ward saying the same thing back the other way. But there was a comment that Liam Lawson made yesterday, which I saw and then saw on television as well. The fact that it was knowing that he was doing over 340k an hour and braking at the 70-meter mark, and the head adjustment around that. That is Formula One. That is what Formula One is all about, the ability to be able to do that. And that's where it takes its toll on people. I think the test has been good. There's lots of intrigue in it. A few people doing good things in the timesheet. What's it mean going forward? Not a lot, really, in some ways. Pato's there because of the fact that he had a bet with Zach Brown. If you won an IndyCar race, you get a test. So, but you just never know. You never know what's been evaluated, do you? And we will see how that transpires.
The junior drivers, including Pato O'Ward, they were just driving basically the standard car as it finished on Sunday evening.
Yeah.
That's all there was to it. Lots of the other drivers were doing the 18-inch wheel tests and things like that. And most of them were doing something specific to the test, apart either being a young driver or a test driver or whatever. And something else Liam Lawson said was he'd been on the computer, on the simulator, quite a lot, thinking that there is no way that when the actual Formula One car goes around, it can be this fast. There's no way. So they've obviously speeded it up for him to get the there's And then he said, actually, driving the car is even faster. Things happen much quicker. And there's quite a gap, a divide between being a driver and a Formula One driver. But quite a gap and a divide. But that's why they're all worthy of being there. Although one guy that wasn't there at the weekend, Mazepin, he got COVID or something. So in all honesty, I don't think anybody missed him because it would have only been another chicane in the way of doing things on the track. But,
That's
so, I mean, all in all, season done.
Yep.
Season done. I can't believe it was a Mercedes engine driver that caused the aggravation at the end, but there you go. One thing.
Yeah,
So,
thanks, Williams.
I
think it's been a good season. We've had a great season. We had finally we actually had a Formula One World Championship that went right to the wire. We've had that for 17 years in IndyCar, and it was great to see Formula One do that because I think ultimately it needed it. It's had a lot of other things that have worked very well for it, like the Netflix series and stuff like that. But nothing beats this because now for the next 2 months, people are going to talk about that one event during the off season. So you go into the off season with a lot of momentum about what might happen next year. So I think that's fantastic. IndyCar finished quite a while ago. Now, do we hear ourselves talking about Alex Palau? No, we don't. It's just under the wood now. So I think that, there's some good things to come in domestic motorsport in New Zealand. Well, that'll get going as well. Obviously, Speedway will get going eventually, all based on our traffic light system. But it's been a great motorsport year, really. It really has. And the Kiwis have done themselves proud across all the areas they've been in. You look at it, Van Gisbergen, Emma Gilmore driving for McLaren in off-road next year, the boys in F2, the stuff that's happened in the USF series and the Road to Indy series. New Zealanders have been everywhere this year, and that's a great testament to a little country in the middle of nowhere, really, isn't it?
It is. You say motorsport's been good. It's been crap in New Zealand because it's been decimated completely. But we actually start next Friday in a way because there's the media day and the TR86 days at Hampton Downs with other cars testing, racing, whatever. They're not a big official race meeting or anything, but it's a race meeting. And I mean, it's starting because there's all sorts of people driving 86s this year. I think the organisers of the 86 series, Jeff Short and all, have got a fantastic grid. I think maybe 22 cars now, which is pretty darn good. Maybe even more by the time Friday comes around because there's somebody being announced every day. So we have got things to look forward to. We've got a New Zealand Grand Prix that's going to happen. I don't know who's driving there or I know in what, but in what liveried cars or whatever. So yeah, there's all sorts of things to look forward to, I guess, because there ain't no point looking back now. I mean, what's happened is done and dusted, and in New Zealand, we didn't have much going on for us. But around the world, as you say, we've got champions in lots of places. And I do look forward to the testing in Barcelona to see who's got what sorted and hasn't in Formula One, that is. And then the actual first race. And how many races next year? 23, is it? I mean, for goodness sake, this is just getting a bit too much, I think, on races. I think they could outdo themselves. Yeah. It's going to be hard to watch all that lot, I'll tell you, at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, you'll be able to clear off your Sky hard drive recorder and get it ready for next season. So I'm going to put you in the spot before we finish the show today. I've got one in mind because I've just thought of it. Pick one moment of the year that stands out to you from any category of racing, one moment.
I'm not even sure I could sit here and answer that immediately because nothing springs to mind. I think probably I'd have to go category by category. The Grand Prix this last year, I thought that was fantastic with Shane and all that sort of stuff. That was a collective moment. With Shane winning, no, I can't pick I watched too much motorsport to have one specific thing come out of it. There's all sorts of things. Carl Larson winning NASCAR after being knocked out of NASCAR because of things he said. There's probably a dozen things as I sit here. So I'm intrigued how you can pluck one out.
Well, I'm only plucking one out because I actually did it at the beginning of the show as well. But it's Helio Castroneves winning 4 times at Indy, and the photo taken with what was then the 4 club, if you like, because we lost an answer this week. So that photo will never be repeated again. And the fact that the 4 of them were there as 4-time winners of the Indy 500, and he's the only person who could potentially go for 5 and make history. I think that's amazing. Is at the moment of the year, I don't know, but it's one that I thought of, and I thought, well, I'll chuck that in there and see what you came up with, and you very nicely sat on the fence. So well done to you.
Well, no, I'm not sitting on a fence. I'm just saying there isn't one specific thing. Fresh in the mind, of course, is last weekend. But that's not done yet. Well, I hope it's done. The Mercedes have got until 8 p.m. tonight, yes, UK time or European time, to decide if they're going to take it further or not. But anyway, that's done and dusted. All I can look forward to now is not having to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning to watch a motor race, or 1 o'clock, or a Formula One race. That's all, just for a little while. And then hopefully we start in Australia or whatever, and I don't know, maybe even go to it. We'll see how it pans out.
Yes, well, there's a lot of talk about the fact that Sydney's quite keen to get a Formula One Grand Prix again and take it to Melbourne. And I saw in an email I got a couple of days ago the assets of the Adelaide circuit all being sold off. You could buy like the lights and bits of the grandstand and all sorts of stuff. So there is no more Adelaide circuit.
That's interesting, because the Adelaide council or the mayor or the state, whatever, they want the Clipsal, whatever it's called, to be back there. Because they've suddenly realised that brought an awful lot of money and kudos into Adelaide. I think Melbourne will keep the Grand Prix. I don't think that Sydney will wrest it from them, because Melbourne does a damn good job around Albert Park. That's a bloody good place for a race. Wherever you have it in Sydney, well, if it's a street race, where the hell are you going to have it in Sydney as a street race? I don't know, but they've obviously got ideas. But no, I mean, I did notice or read something today that it's intriguing that because Formula One has got so popular at the moment around the world, Netflix, America, whatever, and all this going on. I mean, it's on the newscasts, on our news, it's there. Yeah. That all the circuit owners who have Grand Prix are rushing to get their contracts done, because they realise there are so many new people that want to have Grand Prix in their countries, and they can't possibly go to them all, can't do more than 23, although I said that, 20. So yeah, it's interesting that at the moment, Liberty Media, the FIA, Formula One are riding a bit of a crest of a wave. So hopefully we get that crest to continue.
Our dear friend Bernie would have liked that, because he would have been able to play them all off against each other and watch the dollar value go up, up and up, and then play the same game with all the broadcasters, as I only know too well. So, well, I'm going to leave you with it. We'll probably catch up next week and look back at the season, the highs and the lows, and it'll give you a chance to think of a few moments. Great week for Formula One, really, at the end of the day. Let's just hope that it ends how it ended on Sunday. We don't need any more carry on. Enough said on the matter. Max Verstappen, world champion. Mercedes Constructors champion. See you again in 2022 Formula One. Bob, it's been fantastic this year. As I said, let's do it again next week and review the entire year, pick our moments of the year, and look back at it. To everyone that's watching the show today, if you've got a comment or you've got a moment, then send us a comment and we'll talk about it next week. No matter what the comment is, and maybe it might even be one that's equal to ours.
Yeah, well, yeah, please comment. I love arguing with people. So, yeah, go for it. All right, DT, thanks very much.
No, you're most welcome. Thank you again for joining us on Racing World, and we'll see you again next week. That's Bob McMurray, my great mate that we've spent nearly most of the year apart from each other, but we'll get back together one day soon. Well, there you go. That pretty much wraps it up for, I think, probably 2021 in terms of the number of shows. We've made 46 shows this year. There's been over 19,000 hours viewed on YouTube. So I thank you from my heart for that. This has been a lifelong creation, and the technology we have these days enables us to do it. So don't forget to share and like and subscribe to us. There will be things coming, maybe not a full show until January, but I wish you all the very best, no matter where in the world you are, for Christmas. Thank you for supporting this. We're We've got some great things in mind for 2022, including returning to Indy, so just wait. Until then, take care, stay safe, COVID safe, all the very best to you and your families, and thanks again for supporting Racing World.